of Stevens Point Police and Fire Commission meeting, recorded February 2nd, 2021.
I will call to order the February 2nd meeting of the Stevens Point Police and Fire Commission. Leanne, would you be so kind as to kindly call the roll?
Carlson,
I'm here.
Kirschling,
Here.
Moore,
Here.
Ostrowski,
No, I'm here.
and Westcott.
And I'm present. Thank you, Commissioners. We have a quorum present. We have a number of major announcements here today, and the first one is really the first item on our agenda. We have a major announcement concerning a memorandum of understanding between the Stevens Point Fire Department, Police and Fire Commission, and Mid-State Technical College. It's something that I know commissioners are keenly aware that Chief Finn and his management team have been working on this for some time with our partners at Mid-State, and they are ready to make a pretty big announcement here today about a fairly exciting collaboration. So with that, Chief Finn, I'm going to turn it over to you. I know we have some special guests. I'll let you introduce them and take it away.
Thank you, sir. I'm going to do some thank yous. I'm going to turn it over to Assistant Chief Moody, and then he will turn it over to Division Chief of Training Officer Trevor Howard, and then he will turn it over to Mid-State.
All right.
But I'm proud to announce before you is a MOU, Memorandum of Understanding, with Mid-State Technical College, where they will give $25,000 a year for 10 years for a total of $250,000 at our training site. This started out at a stakeholders meeting, a breakfast 3 years ago with Dr. Shelley Mondyke, myself, and Mayor Wiesa. We looked at different sites in the city, and we had talked about internally becoming our own training site. We worked with Mid-State diligently and other city departments. So on the city side, I'd like to thank the Department of Public Works, Utilities, Community Development, and Parks Department. They've all assisted us on this endeavor. I'd also like to thank Comptroller Laddick, Mayor Wiesa, and the City Council, because when we went for Capital 2021, the Mayor and Comptroller Laddick knew what we have been working on, and hopefully we're going to get signed this year. And they've committed funds from the city to make this a premier training site. With this partnership that we are, hopefully that you guys will pass today, I know you will pass, Mid-State Technical College and the Stevens Point Fire Department could become the premier training site in central Wisconsin. It would not have been possible without, as I said earlier, Dr. Shelley Mondyke, Rick Anderson of Mid-State, Dr. Colleen Kane of Mid-State, Ben Noose, I hope I didn't pronounce your name right, sir, Dr. Deb Stencil, and Dr. Bobby Damrow. After 3 years of meetings and development of a training site, this is a major step to the training facilities for firefighters in central Wisconsin. This not will only help the Stevens Point Fire Department, Mid-State Technical College, it helps fire departments in the area, but it also helps the whole city of Stevens Point as a whole. Mid-State Technical College is also involved in the MOU that we have with Department of Criminal Investigations for the fire investigation class. This will bring people from all over the state to the city of Stevens Point, using our hotels, using our restaurants, and just seeing our great city. So again, I'd like to thank everybody that I mentioned before. I'm going to turn it over to Chief Moody, who, without Chief Moody's assistance and dedication to this project, this would not exist. I had an idea. He put that idea on paper and went above and beyond the idea I had. But if you know Chief Moody, if you're gonna do it, let's do it right. So I'm gonna turn it over to him. He can get into more of the nuts and bolts because he's put his heart and soul in this in the last 3 years. So Chief Moody?
JB, you have the floor.
Thanks, Chief Finn, for giving me this opportunity to speak on behalf of the new Stevens Point Fire Department training site. Once again, I'd like to thank the members of Mid-State Technical College that are with us today for believing in us and signing this MOU partnership with us to span the next 10 years for $250,000. Again, a special thanks to other departments within the city of Stevens Point, including Public Works, Water, Community Development. Without their help in this project, we wouldn't be where we're at today, and that's the truth. This project started as a talking point, like Chief said, at a breakfast meeting and has developed into what we feel is going to be a regional training site. We have multiple organizations that have already signed MOUs with us already, 2 of them being Mid-State Technical College and DCI, Department of Criminal Investigation. This project started small and has developed. It started as a 1/4 to a 1/2 acre project and now has the potential to expand over 3.5 to 4 acres through a multi-phase rollout. This location is located at 3100 Whiting Avenue, the current city pits. We plan on having many different fire and technical rescue training props on site to further enhance fire department personnel in-house and across the region. Through capital improvement projects, grants, MOUs, we plan on making this a state-of-the-art facility. This project will also draw people to our community and will put the city of Stevens Point on the map as a go-to regional training facility. I truly believe that. This will give our department members, other local fire department members, and Mid-State Technical College students the ability to train and create muscle memory for when true emergencies happen. As our new training officer, Trevor Howard will now explain the specific ways this training site will enhance and prepare current and future students through real-life scenarios and the state-of-the-art techniques. With that, once again, I just would like to thank everyone who has been involved in this project. And like Chief Finn said, we're going to continue to think big and move forward with this site. As for that, I'd like to turn it over to Training Officer Howard.
Trevor?
Thank you, Assistant Chief Moody. So I feel pretty lucky. I'm kind of riding the coattails of this. It started long before I was promoted to this position, but I'm awfully lucky to be a part of this at this point. But finding suitable areas to train has been a struggle in Stevens Point for a long time. Occasionally, we've been lucky to acquire a structure here or there that will allow the valuable training needed for this profession. Unfortunately, these acquired structures come at random, and we can never consistently count on this method of training. The development of this training site is a dream come true for this department, truly, our Metro partners and the community. We'll finally have a true training facility that we will be able to develop to meet the needs of our department. When most people think of the fire department, they think about fire engines and hoses. Fire departments have adapted over the years and have become a catch-all for emergency calls. In addition to fighting structure fires, we are expected to respond to wildland fires, vehicle fires, medical calls, car accidents for extrication, high-angle rescue or rope rescues, ice water rescue, which differs from swift water or open water rescue, confined space rescue, trench rescue, collapse rescue, and hazardous materials responses. Each of these disciplines requires a unique set of skills that require tremendous amounts of training and specialized facilities, props, and structures to train on them. Each of these disciplines also presents its own set of unique challenges and dangers. Data shows that the number of structure fires occurring in the United States is declining due to better building codes, fire inspections, and public education. However, the rate at which firefighters are dying continues to climb. Part of the reason for this is lack of knowledge and lack of training. We're responding to fewer fires and more firefighters are dying because we do not have the fireground experience we once gained through emergency calls. Now more than ever, we need to focus on our training with more realistic and more frequent training. That is what this site will be able to give us. Our plan over the next 3 to 10 years is to develop this site into a regional training site that will prepare this department, surrounding departments, and students for any emergency that may arise. We will have areas to conduct live fire training, to teach about fire behavior, fire tactics, and best practices. We will have an area to teach vehicle extrication, to remove patients from vehicles faster, to give them a better chance of survival. We will have high angle or rope rescue tower to train on saving someone from someone suspended from an elevated position. We'll have a confined space training prop to train on saving a victim from these types of environments safely and effectively. We will be able to train our people, other departments, and students on all the disciplines that are expected in today's fire service, and we will be able to provide our community with a better prepared and more efficient response. I'd like to thank everybody involved that got this ball rolling to where we are now, city departments along with Midstate, and I would like to call on if Dr. Bobby Domro has anything to say from Midstate.
We welcome our colleagues from Midstate.
Gosh, thank you, everyone. On behalf of Midstate President Shelley Mondake, she couldn't be here today, but she wanted to ask me to express that how grateful the college is for the longstanding relationship that we have had with Stevens Point Fire. But this project really takes it to the next level. We believe this partnership is so important, not only to the city of Stevens Point, Stevens Point Fire, the college, but our students in the community as well. So we are very happy to be allocating $25,000 from our capital budget each year and putting those resources into this training center where our students and just our local citizens can actually go and train to bring about safer communities. So just thank you for trusting us and your confidence in the college. We won't let you down.
Well, we appreciate those kind words. Is there anyone else from representing Midstate Technical College that would like to address the commission? Well, if you would stay with us, we may have some questions. The commission has been, much to Chief Finn and Chief Moody's credit, has been kept in the loop on this for, it does seem like a couple of years since they started talking about it. This is wonderful news. It's a great regional development for training emergency public protection professionals throughout Wisconsin. And I think it really shows the value of collaboration and progressive thinking, and not to mention tenacity. As Chief Finn reported, this is something that started at a meeting 3 years ago, and working with the professionals in Stevens Point and in the professionals at Midstate Technical College. That tenacity has really paid off in a wonderful collaboration for at least 10 years at approximately $250,000. We've heard some of the training that will take place. Chief Finn, I just have one fundamental question that I'm usually required to ask. Is it my understanding the city attorney has fully reviewed and signed off an initial, his approval of the memorandum of understanding? Chief Finn?
Yes, sir. I apologize. I should have thanked the city attorney. Midstate's legal department and the city's legal department went back and forth, and all the wording is correct.
It's a wonderful announcement. Questions from the commission for any of our guests, Chief Finn or Chief Moody? Comments, commissioners?
I just think it's an excellent example of the community working together, both with Midstate, the fire department, and city government. And I think it's what Dr. Stephen Covey would call a win-win situation. And hats off to everybody who worked their tails off to get it done.
Robert, Commissioner Ostrowski?
You know, I was sitting here listening to Fireman Trevor Howard there, and I stopped and think back over the years. You know, the fire department was thought of as putting out a fire and maybe once in a while getting a cat out of a tree. When he started listing all the different things that are expected out of the fire department, I couldn't be any happier with this announcement today. the level of training that this is going to bring not only to our own department, but to the area, and who knows, young firefighters that may move on to other areas. I think the city of Stevens Point, Mid-State Tech, everybody that had the ideas and worked on this should be nothing but congratulated. This is as forward thinking as I've ever seen in this area.
Commissioner
Joseph.
Ostrowski, sorry, President Westcott.
I just, go ahead, JB.
To talk about forward thinking, one thing Chief Finn and I would also like to mention with this partnership with Mid-State Technical College, our training site, and the Department of Criminal Investigation, DCI, is we are going to be offering, and we would have already offered, the first class ever in the state of Wisconsin in basic fire investigation tactics, a state certified course. But this last year, due to COVID, we are unable to run the course. We are looking at running it this year. And again, as forward thinking as anybody can project, this is the first ever state of Wisconsin certified course. And it's going to be hosted right here, not only in Stevens Point, but at our training site.
Would one of you give the commission a sense of the myriad of departments, fire departments, that are going to be able to take advantage of this? Certainly, it's an agreement between the city of Stevens Point, Police and Fire Commission's Fire Service, and Mid-State, but it's not just for our fire department, is it?
No, it is not. When we're not using, our Mid-State's not using it, other area departments will be able to come here and train. The long-term plan is to have enough buildings and building size out there where we could run the physical CPAP through Mid-State Technical College. I believe the closest one now is it's either in Eau Claire or down in Madison area. So we can bring that to central Wisconsin. This is going to bring students from all over central Wisconsin to this area. And they're going to get a quality education book-wise through the Mid-State Technical College, and then through their instructors, they're going to get a quality education and the practical side. But also it's bringing young wannabe firefighters or who want to have a career in firefighting. It's bringing them to the city of Stevens Point. And hopefully that means they want to come and work for the city of Stevens Point. Before I forget, I thanked everybody, but the most important people I forgot to thank is the members of President Westcott and the members of the PFC. We have kept you in the loop on this since the beginning. It's been a long process, but your support for this project was never wavering. And as the chief of the department, and I'm sure Chief Moody as chief of ops would say, that support means a lot to us moving forward. And I thanked everybody but you guys, and I didn't want to go out without thanking you guys. So,
well, I think speaking for the commission, Chief, we view this as only the beginning, not the end step. I know many of you who have worked with me over the years, both here at City Hall, know that I tend to view this as the first move, that where we go from here, we're going to rely on your expertise, your knowledge, the expertise and knowledge of our partners at Mid-State Technical College. And this is a wonderful opportunity to basically build from the ground up and start. We're not announcing the completion of anything here today. We're announcing the beginning of a really exciting collaboration. The motion eventually I'll need when the commission is done with questions is I'm going to technically need your authorization for the president of the commission to sign the memorandum of understanding with Mid-State Technical College and to execute the document. So that'll be the motion I'll be looking for. Are there other questions for any of our guests or the fire service here today?
I don't have any questions, but I just want to commend all of you. As the liaison, I've been in the loop with this project, and it's just remarkable, the collaboration that you all have had, and congratulations.
All right, I'll entertain a motion to authorize the president to sign and execute the agreement. Commissioner Carlson, you need to turn your mic on, sir. Commissioner Carlson has the motion, seconded by
I'll second it. Kirschling.
Commissioner Kirschling. Because we are signing a legal document, I'm going to ask Leanne to kindly call the roll for commissioners. You're authorizing the president to execute the document. Please call the roll. Leanne, you need to turn your mic
Yep.
on. It's mic off
Carlson?
here.
Carlson,
Yes.
Kirschling,
Yes.
Moore,
Aye.
Ostrowski,
A wholehearted yes.
Westcott.
Yes, the motion carries unanimously. Congratulations to all, and thank you to our guests from Midstate today. Well
Chief.
done. Only the start.
President
Say
Westcott,
something.
President Westcott,
Yeah.
just so that you and the Police and Fire Commission know, Assistant Chief Moody, Chief of Operations, is working with Midstate, and there will be a joint press release put out, I believe, tomorrow for everyone to know.
Good. You've always anticipated my next question, Chief. I appreciate that. You're good. All right, we're going to, if there's nothing else on this agenda item, thank you to all who have worked so hard as we get started on this. Let's move to item 3, the regular update on COVID-19 process procedures, status of the emergency here in Portage County for our fire and police services and emergency response to that. Let me call on Chief Finn, who I'm sure will recognize Chief Gems pretty quickly, but Robert, you want to kick it off?
Sure. Assistant Chief Gems, the Chief of EMS, will probably do most of the reporting, but I just wanted the Police and Fire Commission to know that, again, working along with Comptroller Laddick, we are going to be able to do some upgrades to the station at Station 1, where we will no longer be considered close contacts. We've worked with Portage County Department of Public Health, Health Services, Gary Garski, our medical director. And this is, again, the first step of us trying to open up or get back to some type of normalcy in the fire department. We have a staff meeting tomorrow that we will come up with bullet points, and a memo will go out to FD and how we're going to start reopening, hopefully on February 8th. Also, you should know that fire inspections people will start going out to the community to do fire inspections. The state of Wisconsin gave you a little bit of leeway, but they've already said March 1st, no more leeway. So we will continue to do our job there. And then I'm going to turn it over to Chief Gemza, who can give you the updates and everything else. Chief Gemza?
Joseph?
All right, well, thank you guys very much for your time. So just a quick regional view of what's going on with the hospitals with COVID-19. As of today, the hospital beds in our region, which would be the north central region, 81.7% of our hospital beds are in use. Our ICU beds, 87.2% are in use, and all ventilators are at 15.4% in use. So when you look at that, the whole scope of everything and what's been going on with COVID and testing positive and negatives, right now, I'm pleased to say that the north central area is considered a shrinking area. So where we were about a month ago when we were trajecting up, we are now starting to shrink down. So that's a good sign when we look at our community and the overall health of that. So just a couple fun, well, I guess not fun facts, but the highest positive case age group is between 20 to 29%, or 20 to 29 years old. There's about 1,500 cases of those throughout the last year. And the next closest group would be the 50 to 59-year-olds, and they were at 889 positive cases. A positive note, we will continue with our COVID testing and our partnership with the Portage County Health Department. So on Thursdays between 1 to 5, and you can check on our Facebook page if you'd like. Also, we will be doing COVID testing, and we'll continue through, I believe, through March on that. So Thursdays 1 to 5, and then on Tuesdays we've also agreed to hand out vaccines between 9 to 3 and work with the health department as supplemental vacciners. So what happens is the health department gets they put in a week before how many vaccines they would like, and then they're approved usually on Sunday, and that's how they're notified when the vaccines will come. In all honesty, the health department, it looks like they're going to be adding another shift on Saturdays to try and do that. But a lot of this has to do with, and I'm sure you guys have all seen in the news, has to do with the availability of the vaccine at this point. And so really the ability to expand or contract this COVID vaccine clinics really have to do with the availability of the vaccine. And then on Thursdays in the afternoon, I believe it's 3 o'clock, we have an area where we meet with Gary Garsky and the service directors, medical directors, and we try to come up with the next step into the vaccine distribution. So that's what we have right now. I believe most of our personnel at this point has completed their second dose of the Pfizer that had asked for it. We still remain open if somebody does change their mind and would like to. I have some availability for them, or the ability to reach out to different pharmacies, hospitals, or the health department to receive that vaccine. And as far as equipment goes, as of right now, we in a joint group with the county, we'll be purchasing Envo reusable masks. They're like N95s, only the seal's a little bit better on the face, and it allows the medics to speak clearer to the patients. So we had a trial run of those, and with the county and Amherst, we'll be purchasing some of those reusable masks. So our personnel will be fit tested once more, and then they'll be assigned a mask that they can clean after each use.
Joseph, talk for a few minutes, if you would. It is good news. We appear to be softening some cases, but as you know, we're seeing a lot in professional circles about the variants of this disease from Great Britain and South Africa, and the medical and healthcare concerns. What are you hearing on that in EMS, sir?
So as we know that is continually growing, that I know that the CDC has put out many warnings about trying to make sure that we can curb that's the spread of that. As of right now, the vaccines say that they will hold up against these variances. However, our last known one that I had heard was in Eau Claire, Wisconsin, and that seemed to have been an isolated case that they can narrow down. So as far as the variants goes, as of right now, I know that they continue to test to make sure that we're not sending it in, but as of right now, in this area, we don't have it.
Joe, I think the commission recognizes that Portage County Health has the lead on this, and you're a partner in the project. But can you share with the commission what you know about the collaboration, or at least the coordination that's taking place between, we have multiple medical providers, as you know, in Portage County. We have Ascension, we have Aspirus, we have the Marshfield Clinic, all at various stages of, go to their webpage to sign up or give them a call. Who's coordinating all that, and what could you add to that, sir?
Well, the only thing I can really speak on regarding the hospitals and their healthcare system is that we have reached out and spoken with each one. The fire department has, to ensure that if need be, we would be able to receive that vaccine if needed. So in other words, if the health department couldn't get that for somebody and they came in and they wanted it, we wanted to make sure we had pathways and relationships with them. As far as the overall coordination, I cannot really speak of who's coordinating that or making the pieces move between outside of the public health realm.
All right. Questions for Chief Gemza or Chief Finn before I go to Chief Rotier?
I have a question for Joe. Actually, a couple of questions. Joe, is the testing that you're doing with Health and Human Services or whatever, is that still free, or is there a charge now?
No, it is still free at this time. And that's the intent of the whole. It's a PCR. It's not the antigen test, so it does take a couple days to get the results back.
Okay. And with all this testing and safeguards that everybody's doing, do you have any data on just the old common flu? Are those numbers down?
That I do not. I do apologize, but I can put it down for the next month if you're interested.
I was just curious. I thought with everything being done, I thought, boy, the flu itself has to be down. Then I would hope the numbers would be.
Sure, and I can look into that.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Ostrowski. Bob, turn your mic on. Bob, turn your mic on, please. Commissioner Ostrowski, if you can hear me, your microphone is off. We're unable to hear you, sir. All right. As soon as Bob gets his mic back on, we'll. There we go.
There we go. I apologize. My cord tangled up on me here. Joe, a little bit of, maybe you can shed some light on a little bit of confusion from people of my age in the community. I've been approached about a number of people saying, well, how come my friend can get it here and the shot and my friend got it over there, but this one doesn't? I assume that's strictly CDC to the local health department. Is that right?
I think you have to look at it in a tiered thought process. There's no like clear-cut answer. It's really, again, like I talked about, the health department's willing to expand or contract, but the problem is it's the availability of the actual vaccine and how you can get it and when you can get it. And so if you look at a hospital system, they will have XYZ amount of availability, and that's how they schedule it when you log onto their system. So I think a lot of it has to do with that. So in other words, the health department isn't going to take more people to be vaccinated than what they can get for vaccines.
So rule of thumb is patience right now.
And that's what I would say. And again, if you can log on to one site and get a shot scheduled, then by all means I would do that. No matter which hospital or whoever could do that. But again, availability is the key, because nobody's going to schedule it if they don't have it.
Thank you, Joseph.
All right, Chief Rotier, how's the police department doing? We holding our own there?
Yes, we're doing good. We're still fully staffed. Each month we're taking a look at where we want to be in the next month. We continue to have a modified schedule for patrol to keep their interactions between shift changes safe, as well as our record staff is doing the same. There's a break between when one comes in and one leaves to try to minimize contact.
All right, are there questions for Chief Gemza, Chief Finn, or Assistant Chief Rotier? If not, thank you, folks. We don't really need a motion on that. We'll look forward to updates, and of course, we stand ready if need be to renew any type of emergency status for our services. Thank you. Item 4, approval of minutes. Members of the Police and Fire Commission, you have minutes from our meeting on January the 5th and our meeting on January the 12th. Leanne, again, you've done a superb job in assembling the thoughts of the commission and the work on being done by our police and fire services. I have 0 editorial recommendations other than to approve. Any other comments for commissioners? All right, I don't see anyone who wishes to comment. I will move approval of the minutes from January 5th and January 12th. Is there a second?
I will second it.
Seconded by Commissioner Carlson. Thank you. All in favor of affirming the action as reflected in the minutes, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion. Okay, item 5 is really a two-part. First part will be the confirmation of the bills. Members of the commission, you have the bills for police, fire, and ambulance that were sent to you. Commissioner Ostrowski, since you're our resident bookkeeper, you get the first crack at him. Go ahead, sir.
I just wanted to confirm one thing. As I understand it, each of the three departments all came in under budget.
Yeah, that's the next part of my presentation there, Commissioner. That would be correct. And we're going to talk about that in a moment. Let's focus first on the bills.
Right.
Are there any questions?
Any particular department first?
No, go ahead, wherever you want to start, Robert.
Okay, I was just curious on the fire department on the streamline automation, the 3,200. What exactly is that? Fire inspection licenses, it says.
Correct, Commissioner Ostrowski. So Streamline is our inspection program here at the Stevens Point Fire Department, and that is an annual renewal fee to allow our fire marshal and the lieutenants who are on the line to be able to go out and maintain the proper records and paperwork and data electronically for fire inspections here within the department.
Okay, and that's an annual fee, you said, right?
Correct. That is an annual fee.
So it was figured in your budgeting.
Correct. It is figured into our budgeting, and we pay that every year right away up front, and that allows us those services.
Thank you very kindly.
Are there any other questions on bills? All right, since Commissioner Ostrowski alluded to it, there had been some concern expressed that the budgets, because of all of the work in 2020 that we weren't anticipating initially. The good news, there had been some concern that one or two of the budgets might be over, perhaps significantly over. The great news is they all came in at or under budget. Corey Laddick, the city's comptroller, thank you, Corey, for providing the information. As we used to say, fresh off the press, from the comptroller treasurer's office, the good news for police, fire, and EMS operating budgets for 2020 is they are all in good shape. Corey writes, I expect that everyone is going to finish the year within budget, which is good news. They closed the year, police closed at about 95% of its total budget, 5% under. Fire is at 99% of budget. And EMS is about 93% of budget. So from a budgetary standpoint, in spite of all of the emergencies and the pandemic, our chiefs and the management team and the men and women of police and fire to be commended because their budgets are in exceptional shape and no one went over budget for the year. So well done. And thank you to Corey Laddick for providing that information from the comptroller treasurer's office. Chief Finn, you wish to comment?
I'd just like to add that working with Comptroller Laddick, we had a member of the a firefighter that's a member of the National Guard that was deployed. And he's still deployed, and he sets up the testing sites in the state of Wisconsin. Because it was he was deployed due to COVID-19 under the CARES Act, the city was able to get reimbursed $43,000 in overtime.
That's right. Good point. Thank you. Well, again, the good news is the numbers are in for the year, and overall, they look very good for police, fire, and EMS. And I want to thank the city's comptroller treasurer, Corey Laddick, for compiling that data and sharing it. So again, no real formal action. Yeah, actually, we should approve the bills. I will move, if there are no further questions, approval of the bills as presented to the Police and Fire Commission.
Kirkland, second.
So I'm going to give the second to Commissioner Ostrowski. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries. Again, well done to all the departments on that budgetary information for 2020. Item 6 is a memorandum of understanding with Local 484 extending the COVID-19 benefits. Chief Finn, this one is yours.
Thank you, sir. The state of emergency from the state and the city all ran out. The city, the mayor presented to the city council, which was passed, that the CARES Act benefits be extended to city employees. Well, when you extend it to city employees, that does not cover the contract employees. We've had 2 of these MOUs previously with Local 484, and all this does is extend COVID-19 related absences or whatever in the CARES Act is presented. It carries over to the contract people now. That's all.
And really, and Robert, if I don't have this quite right, please feel free to correct me. Basically, the benefits that are outlined in the memorandum of understanding that was executed by the commission remain the same. The dates have been updated. Is that fundamentally what we're doing here, Bob?
The only thing that's changed in the MOUs, sir, are the dates. It's the exact same verbiage as the first one and the second one.
No, I know the commission is familiar with that. Are there any questions for the fire chief? All right, the appropriate motion here is to approve or authorize the president of the commission to execute the new MOU with Local 484. I'll need a motion. Go ahead. All right, Commissioner Ostrowski moves.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Kirschling. Leanne, since it is a memorandum of understanding, legal document, I'm going to ask that you please call the roll.
Carlson,
Aye.
Kirschling,
Yes.
Moore,
Aye.
Ostrowski,
Yes.
Westcott.
Yes, okay, I will sign that memorandum, and Chief Finland and I have already discussed delivery. Item 7 is a memorandum of understanding with the Stevens Point Police Officers Organization extending COVID-19 benefits. Assistant Chief Rotier, about the same what we just did, right?
Correct. It's my understanding union president has signed that form and is on board with extending those benefits.
I believe commissioners have the memorandum of understanding on the bonus sick day accrual has been executed by the president of the Stevens Point Police Officers Association organization. Are there any questions for Chief Rotier? If not, I'll entertain a motion to authorize the commission's president to sign and execute this document.
I'll move.
Commissioner Moore,
I'll second it.
second by Commissioner Carlson. Thank you. Leanne, please call the roll.
Carlson,
Aye.
Kirschling,
Yes.
Moore,
Aye.
Ostrowski,
Yes.
and Westcott.
Yes, motion carries. Thank you. Item 8, commissioners, what I wanted to do in public session is at least have you look at your calendars. We, as you all know, have announced as a commission that we have 2 that were 2 finalists that we're moving to the next level for interviews with the commission. I would like to get that done, but we need to give the 2 a little lead time. I'm looking at setting dates for the interview the police chief candidates either on Monday, February the 8th or Wednesday, February the 10th. I'd like to jump on it a little quicker, but Commissioner Carlson always reminds me that it's probably appropriate that we give them a little time, that we're setting, scheduling a comprehensive interview, expect to spend somewhere around 90 minutes plus with the commissioners. And I think that's a good point. How does the 8th, I'd like to move as quickly as we could. How does Monday the 8th, Chief Ostrowski, you have the floor, sir.
I have a surgical removal. My stitches come out on Monday the 8th for my surgery from 1 to 2. After 2 or in the morning, no problem.
Are there any other, should we
What
just
about
look?
the 10th, Bob? How does the 10th look for you?
How does the 10th? The 10th is fine.
All right, March 10th look good for Commissioner Moore, Kirschling?
February, you mean?
I'm already moving. Thank you, Ron. I'm moving ahead here. Should we look at March 10th? Excuse me, February 10th?
Hello.
I'm turning the page back in the calendar right now. I've
He's
already
stuck
gone
on
ahead
March.
to March. Yeah, I'm looking at March for something else that we're going to do here in a few minutes. So I'm sorry. I will turn the calendar book back to February. How about Wednesday, February 10th?
I'm
Sounds good.
All right. I'm thinking do one at 10, one at 1.
Sure.
I think
Works for
it'll
me.
work. Yeah.
That does
Yeah.
work.
All right.
Would they be back to back then, Gary, or were we gonna have a lag time in between there?
Well, if we do the first one at 10, they should be done between 11:15 and 11:30. That'll allow us to make some notes, maybe get a little lunch, then do the next one at 1 o'clock.
Or can we get it closer together maybe? I don't know.
We could, but I want to make sure there's plenty of room. This is a real comprehensive interview, and I don't want to put the commission in a position that, well, we're having a great interview, we're coming up on 2 hours. Well, we got to cut it off because we got to get to the next one. So,
Okay.
and Commissioner Carlson, you and I can brainstorm a little bit later with our colleagues here on the next tier of questions from the commission as we really probe into specific policy and public policy areas.
Sounds good.
Okay. So I'm going to put, if there's concurrence from the commission, I'm going to ask Leanne to set the date as February 10th. That's Wednesday at 10 a.m. with the second interview to take place at 1 o'clock that afternoon.
Thank you for adjusting on my behalf. I appreciate that.
Right, let's do Assistant Chief Cousseau at 10 and the other candidate at 1 o'clock that day. Okay, commissioners, and we're going to talk a little bit more about this later, but we need to provide additional input to Commissioner Carlson, who's done a really good job leading the search on this, so thank you. That's all I have. We have selected the dates to interview the police chiefs. I have talked about this an awful lot in the public. So I think the word is out, but so Mary Nebo knows that the meetings with community stakeholders are going to follow. I mean, this is not the final round for any candidate. I've already discussed with the mayor time where the mayor would spend with the candidates. We will have stakeholder groups similar to what we already discussed. So I don't know that I need to review all of that. All right, with that said, I'm going to move to item 9. I'm going to dispense with the president's report. I've said most of it on Midstate. Item 10 is the police chief's report. Assistant Chief Mike Rotier is here today as Chief Zenner is busy elsewhere. Chief Zenner, what would you like the commission to know regarding this report, sir?
We had a busy month. I'd like to hit some of the highlights. On January 27th, WAOW conducted a very lengthy, extensive interview with our K-9 handlers and our K-9 program. Look for that February 18th to be airing, so that was a huge success. Our public information officer, Dana Williams, helped set that up and also got the interviews scheduled, so we're looking forward to seeing that. We had, for high priority calls, we had quite a few of them. Some of the major ones where we had some successes. We had the 14-year-old runaway from our town that we worked extremely hard on every day, never giving up to locate her. Our leads led us to Oshkosh, Green Bay, and then ultimately she was apprehended in Wisconsin Rapids and brought home. So we put a lot of time in that, and we take that very seriously. So we were happy to get her back safely. We did have a subject that was brought to the hospital from another city that was deceased. We have done a lot of investigation on that, and we're still investigating that, and we hope to have a conclusion to that in the near future. We did have a standoff that's not listed in our use of force for the month, but it will be updated next month. But we had over a 10-hour standoff on Friday with an armed subject up on Johns Drive, which resulted from a domestic dispute. I'd like to thank Stevens Point Clover SWAT team, the Stevens Point Fire Department, State Patrol, Plover Police Department, and our citizens that were very patient with us. We had a section of Johns Drive and surrounding streets blocked off from roughly around 5:15 till 3:30 in the morning. So we were lucky to have a peaceful end to that. So that's some of our higher priority calls. Moving on, if anybody has a question on that before I move on to our staffing, I can answer.
No, I think the only thing I would add to that, Chief, and we highlight it all the time, but as commissioners know, and it's made a part of our regular monthly meetings for anyone, city officials, alders, members of the public. The department is incredibly transparent when it documents the number of use of force incidents for a month. That's one of the federal standards they're trying to implement nationwide. The departments are documenting and cataloging the number of use of force incidents, and then a brief narrative regarding that. So again, congratulations for that level of transparency. The other thing I'd like you to talk about, and maybe you're going to mention it, I'd like you to talk about the annual point in time search for homeless individuals in the community, Michael. I think that's a very important program that deserves highlighting.
Yes, our CIT officer, Mike Radsick, met up with a few from the Salvation Army. I believe that was last week, came in at 3 a.m. on probably one of the colder nights we had, and went around the city limits looking to see if we could find some homeless people. We were unable to find anyone in the city, which is a good thing. That means people are sheltered. I believe they located somebody in Plover that needed some help, but it seems like we're doing well in that area. In fact, the warming shelter did not open this winter because there's nobody to fill it. So I guess we're fortunate to have those resources, and we were lucky that on that night we didn't find anybody in need.
I'm sorry, I kind of interrupted you and you were wrong. Please finish your presentation to the commission, then we'll open up questions here.
The other highlighted area I wanted to talk about was staffing. Officer Cody Stankowski, remains in field training and is progressing very well through the steps, and his anticipated solo patrol date is February 7th, so it's right around the corner. Gets to work Super Bowl Sunday, lucky guy. The department has extended conditional offers of employment to Cole O'Neill and Josh McCluth, and their target start date's February 22nd. I know that they have been in and done some work with Tracy as far as physical agility and that kind of testing, and they're moving through their psychological testing, and so far everything looks good, and we anticipate them starting on February 22nd. Our school resource officer, our new one for Ben Franklin, is Chris Marshall. He's fully in that position full-time and been trained up by Officer Matt Drossel, who took the sensitive crimes position in IB when Officer Schultz had moved to the court officer position. So those are some of the things that are going on within the department.
Now Chris Marshall also served, I believe, as our Veterans Service Liaison or Veterans Service Officer. Will he remain with some of those duties, or has that been transferred, Chief?
He still remains as a person to rely on, but in the field we have Officer Plummer, who's a veteran himself, that's kind of taken over the lead on that, and we'll confer with him if he needs help and resources.
Good, thank you. All right, open up for questions from the commission for Chief Rotier. Ron?
President Westcott, you sort of stole my thunder, because that's basically what I was going to comment on, is the openness and transparency of the police report. It seems each month it gets better with more information, and the document and share that use of force is very enlightening for everyone.
Absolutely. Are there other questions for Chief Rotier? If not, I will move approval of the report as submitted to the commission. Is there a second? Second by Commissioner Moore. Thank you. All in favor of accepting the report, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries. Okay, item 11 is the fire chief and EMS report. It is within the EMS report. I will have several areas. I want either Chief Finn or Chief Gemza to highlight, but Bob, you may have been intending to do that already, so I'll let you kick it off with the fire and EMS report, sir.
Okay, with the meeting being on February 2nd, it's real hard for us to compile the numbers, so you got the reports late. But what I would like to highlight, there's other things that I would like to talk to you about. If you have any questions on the fire report, but I'm going to bring in Division Chief Howard to talk about the training, the EMS side, the difficult airway training and the hand event train the trainer. This was the reason why we have why we wanted a training officer, and it shows collaboration amongst our partners to get the proper training so we could provide the best medical service to the citizens. Trevor, you want to talk about them two things, please?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Chief. So this time of year, as it's quite cold outside, we tend to focus a little bit more on our EMS training, and the fact that we have to renew our national registry licenses every 2 years, and that's coming up in March. So we tend to focus a little bit more on EMS training around this time of year. So this month we did 3 different trainings, actually. We did a de-escalation training with off-duty Stevens Point Police Officer Christy Aarons came in along with Kathy Hartman from NAMI of Portage and Wood counties. And they came in and gave us de-escalation techniques and dealing with patients with mental illness. It's one thing that obviously we deal with on a fairly regular basis, and throughout our schooling, our paramedic schooling didn't cover real well, or as well as I think should be covered. So they were nice enough to come in and give us some additional training and an update. I know we try to bring them in every so often to get an update. And like Chief Finn said, we also did a difficult airway training earlier this month. And firefighter paramedic Shane Westfall. Oh,
Yeah,
go ahead.
Trevor, I want to make sure everybody understands when our paramedics talk about difficult airway. I think all of you know it. I just want to make sure, because Trevor, why don't you just spend 10 seconds in case, when someone's watching this meeting that's not a commissioner, or former police officer, or a medic, they may not know exactly what we're referring to.
So essentially, I guess as far as we can do some different techniques that in order to breathe for a patient if they're not breathing, having difficulty breathing. We anticipate respiratory failure. And so what we basically do is we take control of their airway, where we will intubate them, place a tube in the trachea, and then breathe for them. And so with the help of firefighter Westfall and Dr. Clark, our medical director, we had a difficult airway training for all three crews with 3 different breakout sessions or training scenarios. We started with basic airway management, just positioning of the airway, and what we call as a bag mask ventilation, where it's less invasive, and we try to breathe for the patient more naturally. And then also Mid-State, thanks to them again, they brought in, it's called an oscillator. It's a newer piece of equipment that helps with ventilations for a patient. It is not approved for use in the US yet, but it is being used in Europe, kind of ahead of the curve on that. We're looking into it and going to look into when it may be approved here in the US. Our second station was using a suction unit and a newer technique to expel vomit from an airway, or from mouth with our suction units and different ways to use our suction units. We actually cut an endotracheal tube, which would be used to intubate the patient, which has a little bit larger orifice to suck out some of that, those secretions and that vomit, but for easier intubation so that we can visualize the vocal cords. And then our third station was called surgical airways or surgical crikes. In the case that someone has something lodged in their throat, we are able to actually cut into the trachea and insert an endotracheal tube below that blockage. And we acquired some swine tracheas donated by People's Meat Market to practice that and to find the anatomy and practice on. Then that concluded, that was, I think, a great training. And then the hand tubby train the trainer course is kind of a course that's been in the works for a few years. Historically, we've used a class called PALS, or Pediatric Advanced Life Support. And we have gone to now, we took the train the trainer course this month. We will be getting it out to our members and starting to use this beginning in March, I believe. But historically, I guess PALS is along the lines of ACLS, and they have different recommendations. This hand tubby was set up by a pediatric emergency department physician out of Florida. That's kind of basically the new and upcoming, the cutting edge on pediatric life support. He comes with an app and basically makes resuscitation of pediatric patients a lot easier for us. Currently, and I think everybody throughout the state or in this profession will agree with me, when you hear a pediatric call come across, your heart rate goes up, your blood pressure goes up. It's one of those out of the ordinary events that we don't go to regularly enough. And this training and this system makes that a little bit easier for us and will help us, I guess, curb that extra stress and keep us moving forward in that, I guess, sense. So.
Before we take questions for either Trevor Howard or Chief Finn, I would want someone, either Chief Finn, Chief Gemza, Trevor, you notice at the top of your EMS report, Commissioners, St. Michael's 24/7 cardiac catheterization lab opens. That is a significant change too, as Commissioners are clearly aware. A few years ago, a new innovative program was developed, which in coordination with the hospital allowed our paramedics to transport patients directly to a cath lab, either in Wausau or Marshfield, but you still have the distance to travel. That's changing with this major announcement. Chief Finn, you want to talk a little bit about that, or have Joseph?
I'm gonna have Chief Gemza talk about that.
Joseph?
Thank you very much. This is really good news operationally for our department and for our patients. So as we know that minutes are muscles when it comes to your heart. So anytime we can shave time off of transport or doing an intervention before they can get to a cath lab, this is really big. So on January 26th, Dr. George and his team opened up the St. Michael's cardiac cath lab to 24/7 operations. We worked with them. Dr. George came in the month of December and did some 12 lead training, which is how we view the picture of the heart when we hook the stickers up and the different things that he was expecting. We worked with Dr. Clark and the St. Mike's ER team to ensure that the transports and that we're following the protocols that Dr. George would like and his team would like when it comes to actually doing cardiac catheterizations. But really, at the end of the day, when we think about operationally and the Stevens Point Fire Department, if you think about an ambulance leaving the county, our nearest hospital, cardiac cath hospital, is 36 miles away from the center of Stevens Point. So that's 36 miles one way and 36 miles back. So the average STEMI direct transport was about an hour and a half where that ambulance was out of service or even out of the county. So the fact that Ascension St. Michael's stepped up and took this this huge step for our community is operationally for the fire department is going to be really good. But also, as far as patients go, this will really be a game changer for our community.
Oh, I couldn't agree with you more on that, Chief. This is clearly a game changer for any heart patient, any patient suffering a cardiac event with the cardiac catheterization lab opening on January 26th at St. Michael's Hospital. I would agree. That's a game changer, and that's again really, you don't want to talk about anyone suffering a heart attack, but the reality is folks do. And now they can get that professional care even faster. So well done. All right, I'm going to open it up for questions. The de-escalation training, the difficult airway training, the trainer for pediatric resuscitation, the new cath lab opening, lots of exciting developments here. Commissioners, Chief Finn. Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I have more. Do you want to talk about this first?
No, go ahead, Chief. If you got more, I don't want to preempt you there.
Okay. One of the things that was not on the agenda is that our SCBA bottles are going to expire in 3 years. What I'm asking for is permission to have Chief Moody, the Chief of Operations, send Comptroller Laddick a memo so we can get it on the City Council agenda for February. Chief Moody and his team have been researching this. Is about $350,000. It's a 90-10 split. So it would be approximately $35,000 cost to the city. Our current SCBAs were purchased in 2009 and are nearing the end of its 15-year lifespan, at which time refilling them is prohibited per NFPA 1582 guidelines. By applying for it early this year under the AFG grant, it is the #1 priority. So if we wait until they come back again as a #1 priority, our bottles will be expired. So all I'm asking is that we be able to go forward to the City Council to see if they will approve a $35,000 expenditure that's not budgeted for the purchase of all new SCBA bottles.
Chief,
Sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was just wondering, Chief, so the 90% is picked up by a grant then?
Yes, sir.
Okay, all right.
Commissioner Moore.
Chief, how long do those bottles last for before they're taken out of the cycle?
We have, by NFPA standards, are 15 years they have to be taken out.
Thank you.
All right, since it is a part of the fire chief's formal report to the commission, I'm comfortable, Chief. Certainly, if you and your management team wish to send a memo to Corey Laddick and the alders, I don't think you need a formal motion from the commission to do that. And I would say proceed.
Okay, thank you, sir. And then finally, I have, as you know, Stevens Point Fire Department became one of the first PFAS-free fire departments in the state of Wisconsin. We are currently holding approximately 40 to 45 pails of PFAS foam. Again, Chief Moody wrote a letter to Governor Evers yesterday at the request of the Wisconsin State Fire Chiefs Association to put in his 2021 to 2023 biannual budget proposal to get rid of PFAS foam. So we will be monitoring the governor's office for this because Chief Moody could talk approximately the cost that we are getting to destroy the PFAS foam is quite high. So we'll keep storing it and hopefully the governor's office will come up with something. But again, we talked about PFAS, I believe 18 months ago, and we're still talking about it. But Stevens Point was one of the first fire departments in the state to go PFAS free.
Yep, we were one of the first areas to be talking about it and to work on going PFAS free. And we all remember Chief Moody's comprehensive report on that to the commission back when we could meet. So thank you for that and keep us posted on that.
Yeah, I just wanted to let you know a letter was sent to the governor's office. That's all.
Okay.
And without any other questions, I'm finally finished.
Are there any questions for Chief Finn, Trevor, yeah, go ahead, Robert.
Okay, this question is for Trevor. Trevor, on that training, it seems like advanced training that you were reporting. I assume this is going to be offered to every new EMT as they come on, or is it going to be like a yearly update for everybody?
Which one were you speaking of?
I'm talking about like the airway and the de-escalation, those type of things.
Yep, we try to get all of our new members trained in all of the categories. We will, the hand heavy training was a train the trainer. So the 4 of us that attended that will be disseminating that to the rest of the members. And that it's essentially a separate program that we will be using. We're switching from what was PALS and going to basically a different pediatric program. So everybody in the department will get that training, as well as the difficult airway training. That's something we try to put on at least every other year, if not annually. We try to get some sort of difficult airway training at the department, not always to the same extent, but we try to get everybody trained on that biannually, if not annually. And the de-escalation training is kind of the same thing. We like to touch up on that around every 2 years.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Other questions? As commissioners are aware, there is tremendous amount of continuing education required or for licensure or for commission compliance in a myriad of areas for law enforcement and EMS and fire. So thank you. I'm going to move approval of the fire chief's report, including the EMS report. Is there a second?
I just wanted
to miss something.
Well, okay. Let me get a second first, and then we'll take some more questions. Commissioner Kirschling has the second. Who had a question? Go ahead.
I have a question for Trevor, or more so a comment. Trevor, that 302 hours of training, is that just for January alone?
Correct.
That's an impressive number. I like that.
And I believe that is actually down a little bit from our previous few months, only because we have started our refresher training, and those hours have not been tracked. They will be tracked when they finish their refresher course, which will be another 30 hours. So in March, I believe in March, or they will probably finish that up in April. We'll see. March will be a big month, I believe, because that 30 hours will all be tracked that month. So we're down a little bit, but we're still doing training. It just hasn't been tracked yet.
Yeah, keep it going. I like it.
Thank you.
Chief Finn, you were trying to get my attention, sir?
No, just that I saw a couple commissioners had their hands raised.
Thank you. Commissioner Kirschling, were you trying to get my attention?
No, I was just telling you Finn wanted something, but yes, I'll second your motion.
Right. All in favor of approving the fire chief's report, including EMS, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. All right. Before I make a motion to reconvene in closed session, and I'll read that out loud in a moment, the chair is going to recognize special legal counsel for the Stevens Point Police and Fire Commission, Attorney Dean Dietrich. Counselor, you have some news you wish to share publicly here this afternoon, sir.
Yes, thank you, President Westcott. I have been working with legal counsel for the appointed counsel for the city of Stevens Point and the counsel for the employee of the fire department that's subject to a disciplinary proceeding. And we've agreed to schedule that hearing for March 1 and March 2 by Zoom platform. If there are some witness concerns, they're going to notify me before the end of the day tomorrow. But at this point, I, on behalf of the commission, have issued a scheduling order setting things up for a hearing to be held using the Zoom platform on March 1 and March 2. At the time of the hearing, that'll be a hearing before the commission in public session. Chief?
Yes, sir. I reached out to our legal counsel that is now handling the disciplinary hearing through email, and I did leave him a voicemail that then dates do not work. One of the assistant chiefs out of town, and we proposed starting the week of March 8th. That was yesterday afternoon, and I have not heard back. But just so you know, March 1st, one of our assistant chiefs will be out of town.
I appreciate that information, and we will follow up, and I will notify the commission as steps that we need to take.
Sorry for the interruption, but I'm just letting you know that we tried to reach out to our legal counsel yesterday.
Okay.
Let me, and counsel may stop me here. Dean usually intervenes if I stray too close to the line he doesn't want me to cross, but let me be very clear for the public. It is the intent of this commission to proceed with this disciplinary hearing. As commissioners know, we have had to reschedule several times because either the attorney for the city, and not Dean, the city attorney, or attorney for the counsel for the firefighter have had reasons to petition the commission for modification in the hearing date. Subpoenas have been issued and have been reissued. The city attorney recused himself from this process, and counsel has been assigned from Madison to represent Chief Finn. We have been through a number of delays, all requested of this commission, and none of these delays have been at the initiation of this commission. And I think it's important to put that on the table. The commission has been very understanding of petitions from legal counsel. Again, not Attorney Dietrich, he's been doing a tremendous job maintaining all this. But we're to the point where it's time to proceed. Schedules may have to change within divisions, departments, or for attorneys, but this commission is going to hold this hearing and it's going to take care of it in a very professional and fair manner. All right, I've said my piece. I probably have said more than I should have, and Dean will tell me about that later. I will move consideration of a motion to adjourn in the closed session pursuant to section 1985, 1C and F of the Wisconsin statutes for the purpose of considering employment or performance evaluation data of any public employee over which the commission has jurisdiction and preliminary consideration of specific personnel problems which, if discussed in public, would likely have a substantial adverse effect upon the reputation of any person involved in such problems, including the discussion regarding scheduling of the disciplinary hearing, which we've already done, and discussion of administrative review of fire department operations. The commission will adjourn from our closed session without reconvening into open. Is there a second to my motion?
I'll second it.
Second by Commissioner Carlson. Leanne, would you kindly call the roll to move into adjourned session, please?
Carlson,
Yes.
Kirschling,
Yes.
Moore,
Yes.
Ostrowski,
Yes.
Westcott.
Yes. With that, I'm going to say goodbye to everybody.
A video of this meeting is available for viewing on the city's website, stevenspoint.com/videos.